We're zoomed in on about 9.7 power, distance 200 yards, using a 22-250, 50 grain VMAX bullet, Hornady Varmint Express. Distance 200 yards, shooting 22-250, 45 grain jacketed hollow point by Winchester, about a 9.7 power zoom. Shooting at a distance of 300 yards with a 22-250, Hornady 50 grain bullet, 13.9 power zoom.
Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be shooting the 204 Ruger and the 22-250 a lot. This is going to be part 2 in the series. If you're looking for part 1, I'll have a link to it posted down below. In part 1, we mainly focused on just getting all the numbers out of the way and then shooting at the 100-yard distance quite a bit. Today we're going to focus mainly less on numbers and a little bit more on just shooting at 200 and 300 yards. As I mentioned to you in part 1, I believe that the true horse race is going to come down to the 204 Ruger 40 grain VMAX versus the 50 grain 22-250 VMAX. The 50 grain bullet for the 22-250 will have a ballistic coefficient of 0.242 compared to a BC of 0.275, so that'll be in favor, of course, of the 204 Ruger. They're both starting off with about 3,700 feet per second at the muzzle from what I've been chronographing anyway. At 200 yards though, you're still going to have quite the edge in pure energy in favor of the 22-250. It's going to arrive with about 910 foot-pounds of energy compared to 762 for that 204 Ruger. That's a difference of 19.4% more energy on the 22-250. However, the 204 is going to try to keep up by just beating it with just pure speed at that distance. It's going to have 2.3% more speed at 200 yards. When we get out there to 300 yards, the 22-250 50 grain bullet will have 689 foot-pounds of energy compared to 598 on the 204 Ruger. That's a difference of 15% more energy in favor of the 22-250. However, the speed difference is starting to show up in favor of the 204 at that point. Rather than 2.3% more speed like it had at 200, now it's got 4.2% more speed at 300. In terms of the lighter, faster bullets for each caliber, we're also going to compare the 32 grain 204 Ruger to the 45 grain hollow point 22-250. Now there's no doubt in my mind and no doubt in my chronograph's mind that the 22-250 45 grain bullet is faster at the muzzle. I've chronographed those 22-250 45 grainers easily above 4,000 feet per second. I'm just barely getting them to come in at about 3,900 feet per second on the 204 Ruger 32 grain VMAX. However, once we get out there to about 200 yards, here's what the energy numbers look like. You've got 805 foot-pounds on that 22-250 45 grain bullet compared to 608 on the 32 grain 204 Ruger. However, so you're looking at what, 32% more foot-pounds on the 22-250. However, how's the 204 Ruger going to try to keep up with speed? It does have 3% more speed at 200 yards. And at 300 yards, rather than having 3% more speed, now it's going to have 6.8% more speed as the ballistic coefficient starts to really show up. Remember that BC of 0.21 compared to a BC of 0.175 on the 22-250, so that's definitely an edge to the 204. However, the true energy numbers out there at 300 yards, 545 foot-pounds on that 22-250 compared to 442 foot-pounds on the 204 Ruger. Well, how's that going to go? Not very well. I'll tell you why. It doesn't really mean much because I had a hard time squaring up my shots with that 22-250. I believe that BC of 0.175 finally caught up to me. Even though I was loving life with that same bullet at 100 yards and at 200 yards, I was shooting great. I think by the time I got out there at 300 yards, I realized that a ballistic coefficient of 0.175, that's a long distance. Anything could happen with wind. Even though it didn't really seem that windy that day, I just wasn't squaring up my shots with that 45 grain bullet. I certainly was squaring up my shots with 32 grain bullet for the 204 Ruger at that 300 yard distance. If you liked today's video, please remember to click the like button, do subscribe, turn on the notifications icon if you haven't already done so, and as always, we're looking forward to your comments. Thank you again.
We'll be shooting at this water jug, distance 200 yards, using a 204 Ruger Hornady Superformance 32 grain VMAX bullet. Alright, this is the water jug that was just now hit at 200 yards with a 204 Ruger using the Hornady Superformance 32 grain VMAX. I'm not real sure where I've really hit him. I'd like to think it was dead center. Your guess is as good as mine though. Really just not much left of this guy at all. Yeah, who knows where that guy got hit? Who really knows? Just mangled him pretty badly though. We'll be shooting this water jug, distance 200 yards, with a 22-250 using a 45 grain jacketed hollow point by Winchester. Alright, here's the water jug that it was just now hit at 200 yards with a 22-250 45 grain jacketed hollow point by Winchester. Not a lot left to it. It would appear that this is where it got hit, which is about where I was aiming. I thought I needed to aim about 1.5 inches high. As it turns out, maybe I did not need to aim that high. But as you can see, I mean, just really took this thing apart. We'll be shooting this water jug at a distance of 200 yards with a 204 Ruger using the Hornady Superformance 40 grain VMAX. Okay, this is the water jug, or maybe I should say this is half of the water jug that was just now hit at 200 yards with a 204 Ruger 40 grain VMAX Hornady Superformance. Not sure where I hit it. Maybe dead center. I'd like to hope, like to think. This may be the entry hole. It looks like it could have been the entry hole. So if that's the case, it was pretty much a dead center shot. And I believe the other half of it is way over here. This resembles the other half right here. There it is. We'll be shooting at this water jug from a distance of 200 yards with a 22-250 using the Hornady Varmint Express 50 grain VMAX bullet. Alright, this is the water jug that was just now hit at 200 yards with a 22-250 using the 50 grain Hornady Varmint Express VMAX bullet. I'm not real sure yet where this guy hit, where he got hit at. If I had to reconstruct him, maybe he got hit right about there, dead center. That was about where I was aiming. Took the back off. This water jug no longer has a handle on it. The handle was definitely missing. So some pretty good damage there at 200 yards. We'll be shooting at this water jug from a distance of 300 yards with a 204 Ruger using the Hornady Superformance 40 grain VMAX bullet. Alright, so this is the water jug that was just now hit at 300 yards with a 204 Ruger Hornady Superformance 40 grain VMAX bullet. I'm not entirely sure where I hit this guy. I may have to go home and watch the film in slow-mo to kind of try to piece it together or figure it out. Hit it somewhere, that's for sure. That's pretty much what's left of it. We'll be shooting at this water jug, distance 300 yards, using a 22-250 50 grain Hornady Varmint Express. This is the water jug that was just now hit at 300 yards with a 22-250 50 grain Hornady Varmint Express, which is a VMAX bullet. Not really sure where it got hit exactly. I know that this is the side that was facing me. This small hole right there is probably a good candidate for the entry hole. So that would mean that that's, relatively close to dead center at 300 yards. We'll be shooting this water jug at a distance of 300 yards with a 22-250 using a 45 grain jacketed hollow point by Winchester. Alright, this is the water jug that was just now hit at 300 yards at the 22-250 45 grain jacketed hollow point. It looks like I just barely clipped the bottom. So this is not really a true picture of the true capabilities of that round. I probably just barely scraped the bottom on that guy. I'm sure if I would have squared him up a little more dead center, probably would have been a very different result. We'll be shooting at this water jug at a distance of 300 yards with a 204 Ruger using the Hornady Superformance 32 grain VMAX. Alright, this is the water jug that was just now hit at 300 yards at the 204 Ruger 32 grain VMAX Hornady Superformance. It's looking like I hit it pretty close to dead center, but maybe just a little high. But looks like it was dead center enough to really do some serious damage on this guy. So there's your 32 grain damage at 300 yards.